You beast opens a shop and grows crops. This is the story of a young man quietly opening a shop and establishing a pet alliance from scratch. P.S. Also known as, I have a cultivation house in the ancient elf world, establishing a pet beast alliance from scratch, I farm in the ancient pet beast world, etc. Friends who like to guard beasts, pet beasts, Pokémon, and Pokémon can all come and take a look. Keywords of the novel. I have a breeding house in the ancient world of pets without pop-ups. I have a breeding house in the ancient world of pets. Download the complete set of TXT. I have a breeding house in the ancient world of pets. Read the latest chapters of the breeding house. Chapter 1. Thousands of years ago. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Thousands of years ago Chun-Li felt something licking him, itching. He didn't turn his head and instinctively avoided, feeling something pushing him harder and harder, with a posture of not stopping until he opened his eyes. Suddenly opening his eyes, a familiar yet unfamiliar figure collided with him. It looks like a fiery red fox, with a creamy yellow fur on its forehead and neck. A large, fluffy milky yellow tail sways gently, full of surprise on its face. Flame Fox. Shaking his head, he stroked his temples with his right hand, feeling dizzy. He still remembers playing the simulation reality game of World of Pets last night, using the breeding house system to create breeding resources. It seems to be due to staying up late for too long. He smiled bitterly and shook his head, using his hand to lift the bangs upwards, then opened his eyes again. The figure of the flame fox once again appeared in his eyes, causing his smile to freeze and his eyes to show suspicion. I'm still dreaming. He patted his face. Without waiting for him to come to his senses, his mind suddenly swelled, as if someone had poured water into his mind, and countless images flashed through like slides. 1,000 years ago, in the city of Urumqi, there were inexplicably missing parents. An ordinary young man named Ali. Complex emotions such as confusion, shock, and helplessness flashed across his face. He opened his eyes and looked around in confusion. I've traveled. And I've also traveled to the world of pets thousands of years ago. He murmured in a low voice, his face serious. He naturally knew about the city of Ulu thousands of years ago. The famous World Tree dungeon in the game is located in the city of Ulu, and upon entering the dungeon, one will arrive at the city of Ulu thousands of years ago. At that time, humans were still unable to activate the pet space, and the pet alliance had not been established. Humans were constantly threatened by Warcraft and struggled to resist. Half a year ago, the city of Ulu experienced a war, during which Ali's parents went missing, leaving behind a bakery and a fiery fox. Misfortune never comes alone. The steward of the Warcraft Chamber of Commerce set his sights on the original owner's flame fox, setting up a trap to help find his parents and causing the original owner to owe a large amount of debt, forcing him to sell the flame fox. Under exhaustion, the original owner died, giving him the opportunity to travel. Did you owe money at the beginning? Clarifying the causes and consequences, Chun-Li sighed helplessly. It's also very easy to solve, just sell Flame Fox directly. This idea was denied by him just thinking about it. Now he is in a dark and barbaric world similar to the Middle Ages in Europe. The war that occurred in the city of Urumqi 6 months ago resulted in a large number of civilians dying in the war. There are also Warcraft that invade human territory every winter. 5 years ago, this town was destroyed by a wave of beasts. In this situation, it is even more impossible to sell Flame Fox. Instead, we need to find ways to enhance its strength. Otherwise, he doesn't even have the ability to protect himself. He absolutely does not allow fate to be in the hands of others. But what is he going to do? Now he can really be said to be penniless, with a debt of up to 100 silver coins. How should he repay it? His heart sank, and the Warcraft Chamber of Commerce was also not something he could fight against. Just when he was restless, a neutral voice suddenly rang out in my mind. The pet breeding house system is activated. The strongest pet breeding house system is being launched. Ollie was taken aback, and upon realizing it, his face was filled with surprise. Sure enough, as a traveler, how could there be no supporting system? However, the pet breeding house system. He muttered to himself, why isn't it the trainer system? He wants to become a trainer more than a pet cultivator. System startup completed. At this moment, the neutral voice of the system rang out again. This familiar opening. He looked up at the bakery left by his parents, which had 2 floors. The first floor was a storefront, and the second floor was his bedroom with Flame Fox. The house is clean and tidy, with no trace of dust. Oh, it was actually cleaned by Flame Fox, what a little warm-hearted man. Stepping on the wooden floor, he pushed open the door and saw a dilapidated courtyard, overgrown with weeds after a long absence of care. Arriving at the courtyard, push open the back door and enter the first floor. The right wall is against a fireplace made of neat stones. The fireplace is divided into 2 parts. One is a tall oven, and the other is similar to a stove, with an iron pot hanging from it. On the left side is a wooden shelf, with exquisite woven baskets placed on it, which were woven by the original mother. The bakery looked simple, but Chenli felt warm, as if he saw his father baking bread in front of the fireplace, and his mother putting the baked bread into a weaving basket for customers to choose from. Hardware, Xiaobu let out a soft cry and jumped onto the fireplace. Swinging its tail gently like a squirrel, sweeping away dust, as usual. But its eyes are full of reluctance. It knows that it is about to leave here. Chen Li's heart was inexplicably pricked, and his voice couldn't help but soften. He smiled and said, Xiaobu, I won't hand you over to them. Xiaobu is the name of Flame Fox. And from now on, his name will be Ollie. Hardware, Xiaobu suddenly looked up, his blue and clear eyes sparkling with light. But then he lowered his head again. Don't worry, I will solve the issue with the Warcraft Chamber of Commerce. Ollie smiled and comforted, he is now a man with a system. System. With a thought, a virtual screen appeared in front of me. The task just released by the system is displayed on the virtual screen, and he directly clicks to accept it. Task accepted, system detection successful, geographical location meets the conditions. The pet breeding house has been bound, and the pet breeding house game has been launched, the task of owning a pet breeding house has been completed. Please select the breeding house to operate the business. The sound of the system is devoid of any emotion. Ollie was stunned. Other people's systems would take care of renovating the house, and he was done with it. Not even a reward. Is this system too stingy? Pet Beast Cultivation House Game. Is this system related to the game World of Pets? He remembers that there is indeed a cultivation house gameplay in the world of pet beasts, where players can open their own stores and provide various services for trainers. Unfortunately, as a member of the opposing party, he only enjoys service and has never opened a breeding house. With a thought, a virtual screen appeared in front of him. Pet food sales service, pet training service, pet treatment service, pet fostering service, pet rental service, pet care service. There are a large number of light spots on the screen, each representing a service item of the pet breeding house. There are too many service items, which have caught Ali's eye. Finally, his gaze returned to the pet food sales service. The current pet breeding house has just been established. Selling pet food is definitely the most stable and easy way to make money. Moreover, pet food itself is a type of cultivation resource that can assist in pet training. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Faye, have a piece of bread. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Faye, have a piece of bread. The pet food sales service has been launched. Please select a type of pet food for the host. There are many types of pet food, including pet rations, nutritional juices, energy fruit blocks, elf bread, etc. Ali's gaze fell on Little Boo, who was meticulously cleaning the fireplace, and he looked around. He squinted his eyes and said directly, elf bread. Legend has it that elf bread was developed by elves, but it matches perfectly with his bakery and should not appear abrupt. Pet beast food type selected, reward. Pokémon bread making method, store system activated, unlocking permission to purchase spiritual fruits, the currency system has been activated, and currency units have been automatically converted based on the current world currency. As the system sounded, Ollie's head buzzed, and the method of making elf bread was directly stuck in his mind. The method and recipe for making elf bread are very detailed, and the constantly flashing images are like he has made elf bread countless times before, like an epiphany. System assessment task release. Please sell 100 pieces of Pokémon bread within 1 month. If the assessment fails, the system will be reclaimed. After a while, Ollie realized and closed his eyes to adapt, showing surprise on his face. Product. Nutritional fruit, task item, introduction. It can help pet beasts recover a small amount of stamina. Price. 50 copper coins. In the system store, nutritional fruits lie alone. Ollie pursed his lips. It seemed that this nutritious fruit was prepared for him to make elf bread. Then he opened the currency system, which showed that he now owned 50 silver coins. Obviously, this is the start-up capital that can just purchase the materials needed to make 100 pieces of elf bread. The assessment task requires him to sell 100 pieces of elf bread. In addition to the time limit, he must also complete the assessment before consuming these 50 silver coins. Recalling the production methods and steps in my mind. The next step is the actual combat phase. Ollie took a deep breath and reached out to place his hand on the nutritious fruit, selecting 4 in number. This is the recipe for making basic elf bread, which can help pet beasts recover their stamina. The price is 50 copper coins per piece, which is a bit expensive. But he easily accepted the idea that the system must produce high-quality products. At the moment of confirmation, 2 silver coins were deducted, and 4 nutritional fruits appeared in the system warehouse. With a thought in his heart, the nutritious fruit was taken out and appeared in his hand out of thin air, with the blue-orange fruit wafting a faint fragrance. Hardware. Xiaobu was attracted by the aroma of nutritious fruits and couldn't help but turn his head to look, his eyes slightly bright. Xiaobu, get ready to start the fire. We're starting to make bread. Ollie moved his fingers and walked towards the fireplace. Recalling the method of making elf bread in his mind, he picked up a small knife and cut the nutritional fruit into even small pieces. He filled a basin of cold water and put the chopped spiritual fruit into it. Xiaobu quickly arrived at the fireplace, skillfully spitting flames and grilling it. Looking at the flames spewing out of Little Boo's mouth, Ollie's face momentarily lost consciousness. This is the power belonging to the pet beast. Hardware. Xiaobu maintained the spray of flames, looking up at Ollie with encouragement. Don't worry, Ollie remained dumbfounded. The bread-making method of his predecessor was indeed unqualified, and even black bread could fail. With a smile on his face, he became more serious, and his experience of making elf bread flowed through his mind. He picked up the spatula that stirred the rice paste and plunged it into the pot. Cut into small pieces of spiritual fruit and put them into cold water. Then heat them over heat and mix them with water to make a batter. The stirring technique and speed, stirring too slowly will burn, stirring too quickly will separate water and fruit, and due to different stirring methods and fruit differences, the bread will also have different flavors and effects. His meticulous movements made him seem like a different person. His graceful and skillful movements of raising and throwing made the little cloth beside him momentarily lose focus. Xiaobu, warm up, Ollie didn't reply. Hardware. Xiaobu understood, and the energy of the fire attribute surged in his body, causing the flame temperature to rise again. Looking up again at Ollie, it seemed to have seen the shadow of the old master, the best baker in the city of Ulu, in a daze. Eyes instantly moisten. As the flames burned, the nutritional fruits in the pot merged and quickly blended with clean water to form a light blue rice paste. When the rice paste becomes sticky to a certain extent, it gradually turns brown. Then, when heated further, the rice paste begins to turn brown-yellow. Ali's heart twitched as he skillfully grasped the moment with his experience in making elf bread in his mind. Without hesitation, he picked up the iron pot and poured the rice paste into the already prepared mold. This is the final step of the elf bread, perhaps just like the fermentation of the dough, where the magical transformation from batter to elf bread occurs. Not long after, the batter solidifies and the unique aroma of elf bread wafts out. Hardware, Xiaobu stopped moving, panting heavily to relieve fatigue. Smelling the scent of elf bread, its tired deep blue eyes suddenly opened and sniffed its nose with force. What is this? How fragrant! Suddenly standing up, the still hungry belly couldn't help but growl. This fragrance is something it has never smelled before. Even the signature bread made by the old owner is not half as fragrant. There is an inexplicable force that attracts it, making it want to pounce. Ali had just regained consciousness from that inexplicable state and blinked at the elf bread in front of him in confusion. It took him a while to realize that the elf bread was made by himself. System, you truly deserve it. He clenched his fist hard, feeling more realistic. Pour the elf bread from the mold into the basket woven by the mother, and a total of 4 elf breads were made from 4 spirit fruits. Looking at the elf bread in front of him, a sentence suddenly came to his mind. Faye, have a piece of bread. Not to mention, it's quite visually appealing. Hardware, Xiaobu also regained his senses, swallowed his saliva secretly, and lay down again to recover his strength. Xiaobu, come and try the bread I made. Looking at the obedient Xiaobu, Ali felt soft in his heart and crouched down to hand over a piece of elf bread. Hardware, Xiaobu looked up and shook his head. It also knows its own situation and doesn't want to waste this delicious bread, even though its eyes are filled with longing. You're so sensible, Ali thought, hurry up and eat. When you recover, I'll need you to continue helping me make elf bread. After hesitating for a while, Xiaobu finally couldn't resist his longing. He reached out his paw and took the elf bread, then handed it to Ali, meaning you should eat it first. Elf bread is specifically designed for your pet beasts to eat. I can't eat it. Ali shook his head and his gaze was gentle. It's really heartwarming. Xiaobu blinked in surprise and suddenly shrouded in mist. He felt that Ali was reluctant to eat, otherwise how could there be bread that only pet beasts could eat? The heart became incredibly soft, and the eyes showed determination. It carefully put the elf bread into its mouth and took a light bite. My eyes lit up instantly, and my small pointed ears, half covered in creamy yellow hair, moved. The rich and sweet taste melted in my mouth, making it unable to describe the feeling at this moment. Watching the little one's cute pointed ears move, with a satisfied smile on his face, Ali smiled knowingly. It seemed that the taste of this elf bread was indeed good. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Difficult Start. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Difficult Start. Component babbling. Xiaobu ate happily, licking his tongue continuously. Not long after, it felt a warm current flowing through its body, and its fatigue was instantly swept away. Looking up in surprise, its gaze fell on Ali. Has our physical strength recovered? Then let's continue working. Ali smiled slightly, not surprised. Nutrient fruits themselves can help pet beasts recover their strength, and the effect of making elf bread with these spiritual fruits is definitely even more amazing. Oh my God! Xiaobu nodded vigorously and quickly came to the fireplace. Yali purchased 4 nutritious fruits again and spent 2 silver coins. Skillfully chopped the spiritual fruit and put it into a pot filled with cold water. Xiaobu spits out flames and grills the iron pot. Just 2 collaborations, 1 person and 1 pet beast have become intimately intertwined. With the scorching flames, the spirit juice turns into rice paste, and then into elf bread in the mold. Ali poured the elf bread from the mold into the basket woven by his mother. He exchanged 5 times and made 20 pieces of elf bread, using a total of 10 silver coins. Next, it's officially open. With a creak, the store door was pushed open by Ollie. The light shines in from outside, accompanied by the cool autumn breeze. Outside the shop is a neat street, with dilapidated houses in a Western style standing on both sides of the street. There are not many people on the street. Men usually wear short and narrow-sleeved linen tops, while women wear linen long skirts. From time to time, you can also see a few ragged poor people carrying heavy loads shuttling around, and there are begging children on the roadside. Ollie was taken aback, closed his eyes to recall, and his face changed slightly. The bakery left by his father is located in the town of Taro under the jurisdiction of the city of Ulu. Taro town is located at the westernmost point of Oru City, adjacent to the Taro forest, and can be said to be the forefront of Oru City's defense against the Taro forest warcraft. 5 years ago, the beast tide destroyed this town, which was later built. Nowadays, Taro town can only be considered a border town. It's troublesome now. Ollie frowned and returned to the store. After waiting for a long time, no one entered the store, only a few civilians lowered their heads and passed by. "Boss Ollie, long time no see." At this moment, enthusiastic laughter suddenly rang out, and a middle-aged chubby man in a tailcoat appeared outside the door. Hardware, Xiao Bu's gaze froze, revealing unease in his eyes. Feeling the trembling body of the young man beside him, Ollie quickly reached out to comfort him, his gaze fixed on the sturdy figure standing beside the middle-aged man. The whole body is covered in light yellow hair, with black iron rings on all limbs, looking like a raging ghost from hell. It is the irritable monkey that is always in anger. But at this moment, this extremely wild pet, with a black metal ring around its neck, was being held by the middle-aged chubby man with a rope, and it was incredibly quiet. "Warcraft ring," Ollie muttered silently in his heart. Thousands of years ago in the world of pet beasts, humans were still unable to activate the pet beast space contract pet beasts. The Warcraft ring is the prop that humans use to control Warcraft in this era. "Ollie, I'm here to take the flame fox." Jim, the steward, looked at Xiao Bu with a greedy expression on his face. He designed it for a long time just to get this rare Warcraft. This almost perfect appearance is definitely the favorite pet of the upper-class nobles. "Sorry, I don't intend to sell flame fox," Ollie refused. Upon hearing this, Jim's face suddenly turned cold, and the reins in his hand shook. The irritable monkey suddenly looked up, and the violence hidden in his eyes burst into his eyes. The almost uncontrollable and irritable monkey makes people shiver all over. Jim is in charge. This is the city of Ulu. Ollie regained his composure from his daze and forced himself to remain calm. Jim squinted his eyes and reached out his hand, sneering, "Then give me back those 100 silver coins. If I don't go to court yet, then I'll have to go to the sheriff's court." Ollie's heart sank and he clenched his fist tightly. He didn't expect that all of this would come so quickly, without giving him any preparation time. If he goes to the public security court, he will undoubtedly lose, and the only outcome is to hand over Xiao Bu. What should he do now? Do you want to take action? Jim, the steward, still had a mocking expression on his face. He shook the reins, and the irritable monkey under the restraint of the Warcraft ring showed a fierce look. As long as he gave the order, the irritable monkey would immediately charge up and kill the enemy. Ollie gritted his teeth. At this moment, he really couldn't help but take action. But he knew that Xiao Bu could never be the opponent of this irritable monkey. Component babbling, Xiao Bu was also extremely angry, with some despair in his heart. It even had the idea in its heart that if it followed this person, the little owner would be saved. "Ha ha ha, it seems you dare not. So how about handing over the flame fox? For the sake of your wit, I can still offer a high price." Jim, the steward, burst out laughing recklessly. He actually wants to appreciate Ollie's painful expression. The Warcraft Chamber of Commerce has not been progressing smoothly in the city of Ulu, and now it has only established itself in the town of Taro near the Taro forest, putting a lot of pressure on him. Leading the irritable monkey around a few times a day is a rare pastime for him. Now looking at Ollie, who was forced to sell the flame fox and had no choice but to be forced to do so, he felt inexplicably happy and greatly satisfied. Ollie's daring and hesitant expression made him regain his original sense of superiority, even making him feel even more joyful than buying a flame fox. "Are you trying to take action?" At this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded. Jim's voice paused amidst laughter, and he frowned as he looked over. Then he suddenly stood up and laughed. We're just joking. Under the jurisdiction of Officer Curry, how could we possibly act recklessly?" After speaking, he gave Ollie a fierce glare. "This is the Sheriff of Taro, Curry, the youngest son of the Earl of Burns family. He doesn't want to offend him without reason. Let's just leave if it's okay." Curry nodded lightly and glanced at the plush dog beside him. "Cuddy Cuddy." The plush dog stopped its pace and took a strong breath. Suddenly, a delicious aroma seeped into its nose, causing it to involuntarily secrete saliva. Gudong. It couldn't help but swallow its saliva. "Is that right here?" Curry frowned. Just now they were patrolling when the plush dog suddenly smelled something and ran all the way over, bringing him here. "Cuddy Cuddy." The plush dog nodded repeatedly, with saliva flowing from its mouth. Curry frowned. He knew his own stuffed dog was a snack, but the bakery in front of him looked ordinary, and he didn't know why the picky stuffed dog would take a liking to it. Despite thinking so, he still walked into the store with his stuffed dog. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. First Guest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. First Guest. Jim, the steward, almost stunned his chin when he saw this behind the scenes. He also knew that this plush dog was greedy, and when he gave gifts, he liked to give them various delicious treats, but this plush dog has always looked down upon it. But now, what is the situation with this stuffed dog's impatient appearance? Did you change your taste and want to experience the suffering of the world by eating black bread? Ollie kept watching inside the store, and when he saw the greedy appearance of the plush dog, a light burst into his eyes in an instant. "Guest, here we are. Hello, would you like some elf bread?" Ollie smiled. After entering the bakery, Curry glanced at the fluffy dog that began to swallow its saliva. Its lazy voice rang out, "Elf bread, what's that?" "That's the bread I specially prepared for pets." Ollie quickly brought over the basket containing the elf bread. "This is blue bread, it looks unremarkable." Curry instinctively wanted to utter a few words of disgust, but the plush dog couldn't wait to approach, expressing its desire to eat. Shing Shing swallowed the words that were almost on his lips, carefully scrutinizing them. From his appearance alone, he really didn't know where to eat. "Cuddy," the plush dog sniffed hard and became even more excited. "That's right, that's it. How much is the elf bread?" Curry shrugged helplessly. Ollie has been looking at each person and dog in front of him, and from his attire, it seems that he is either rich or expensive. Upon hearing the quotation, he instinctively extended a thumb, squinted his eyes, and raised 1, 2, 3, or 4 fingers. "5 silver coins," he said. "5 silver coins." Curry blinked. What the hell? A piece of bread costs 5 silver coins. He must have heard it wrong. How could there be such expensive bread? Jim, the steward, followed the store with a serious expression on his face. After hearing Ollie's words, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. He felt that Ollie was crazy about money, so ordinary bread dares to sell for 5 silver coins. However, Ollie should also be going crazy, driven crazy by him. Ollie's gaze fell on the two of them, and his face calmly repeated, It's just 5 silver coins." He glanced at the fluffy dog wagging its tail and explained, "My bread is made from spirit fruit, not ordinary bread." Lingua. Curry raised his left eyebrow. Spiritual fruit is a very precious material, and different spiritual fruits have different effects, and can even be used to prepare potions. He hasn't heard of using spiritual fruits to make bread, but no one has ever succeeded. Lingua, did you say you made bread from lingua? Jim, the steward next to him, couldn't hold his breath and burst into laughter. I have 5 silver coins, and I can buy several spiritual fruits now. Do you think someone would be foolish enough to come and buy your bread, which is nothing? Curry frowned and gave a faint glance at Jim, the steward. He is still very confident in the taste of the stuffed dog, and no matter how effective the fruit bread is, the taste is definitely good. Just 5 silver coins per piece, it's really a bit too expensive. This is indeed made with spirit fruit. You don't believe me, don't you still believe in the plush dog? Ollie spoke calmly and confidently. He glanced at the fluffy dog with a face full of words that said I am the one who is wronged. With this expression, the elf bread is worth 5 silver coins. Curry choked for a moment and glanced at the plush dog, feeling extremely angry. You can give the plush dog a try first, Ollie said confidently. If the plush dog is not satisfied, I won't take a penny. Curry snorted and nodded. If the plush dog really likes it, 5 silver coins is enough for 5 silver coins. However, his stuffed dog is very picky about food and has a terrible taste. He would rather be hungry than eat it. Don't be fooled by the fact that Horongo is very interested now, but it is very likely that he was only attracted by spiritual fruits. If he just wants to eat spiritual fruits, he can buy them separately. Cuddy, with permission, the plush dog jumped up happily, looking forward. Curry coughed lightly and reached out to pick up a piece of elf bread, carefully examining it before reluctantly handing it to the velvet dog. The plush dog doesn't say a word, it just opens its mouth and takes a bite. The elf bread almost melts at the entrance, releasing the sweet and fragrant taste of the spirit fruit. With a sip, a warm current flows towards the limbs, making the whole body feel indescribably comfortable. The eyes of the plush dog lit up instantly. Delicious. It's really delicious. How could there be such delicious food in this world? There was also that warm feeling, and the fatigue all over my body was instantly swept away. This feeling was very strange, just like taking that unpleasant potion. It's really wonderful. The thought was all that remained in the plush dog's mind. He opened his mouth and bit hard at the elf bread, which startled Curry. He quickly withdrew his hand, narrowly avoiding being bitten. Curry glared angrily at the stuffed dog, but suddenly fell silent when he saw the dog's enjoying expression. The expression of the plush dog already explained everything, making it impossible for him to say a word of dissatisfaction against his heart. Jim, the steward next to him, also stared blankly at the satisfied stuffed dog with a short circuit in his mind. Is this seemingly ordinary bread really so delicious? Is this elf bread really so delicious? Curry also muttered. I reached out and took a piece of elf bread and put it in my mouth. The elf bread almost melts upon entry, and the taste of the spirit fruit is released. Ouch, it tastes so bad. The next moment, he suddenly couldn't help but retch. Your elf bread is too bad to eat. Curry frowned. But as soon as he spoke, he met the incredible gaze of the plush dog. He choked and asked tentatively, Katie, do you think it tastes good? The plush dog nodded vigorously, eagerly looking at the elf bread in his hand. Curry. He handed the elf bread over and the stuffed dog swallowed it in one gulp. Another expression of enjoyment. Curry. No doubt, my elf bread is specifically designed for pets to eat. Ollie grinned. Pet beasts. Are you referring to Warcraft? Curry was taken aback, his gaze fixed on the flame fox, his eyes narrowed. Cuddy, next to him, the whimpering sound of the plush dog rang out again. Curry sighed helplessly and handed over another piece of elf bread. Looking at the satisfaction on the face of the plush dog, he smiled slightly and waved his hand, saying, I'll take all the elf bread you still have. Making elf bread is not easy, I only have 17 pieces left here. Ollie was excited and didn't show any signs on his face, smiling as he said, including the 3 pieces that the plush dog just ate, the total is 100 silver coins. Component babbling, Xiao Bu became equally excited and gave a thumbs up to the plush dog. This is Ali's signature move. The plush dog miraculously understood, and with a whimpering sound, it was also very happy. Only Jim, the steward next to him, was stunned. That 5 silver coins worth of elf bread, surprisingly all sold out. How could this be possible? Only fools would buy bread with 5 silver coins. He glanced at the satisfied plush dog on his face, then at the doting Curry on his face, feeling dizzy. The world is really crazy. Thank you for your patronage. Ali took the gold coin handed over by Curry and smiled. Then, his gaze turned to Jim, the somewhat absent-minded steward, with a hint of mockery in his eyes. This is 1 gold coin I owe you, you keep it. Watching the mockery on Ali's face, Jim, the steward, reacted and his face instantly turned red. He looked at Ali with anger on his face. Just now, he was mocking Ali, enjoying the sense of achievement brought by oppression, but almost in an instant, he was fiercely pulled back. Seemingly sensing the owner's anger, the irritable monkey suddenly looked up with a fierce light in its eyes, as if ready to take action at any moment. Jim, are you trying to cause trouble in front of me? Curry's cold voice suddenly sounded. Do he still remember what Jim said to the steward just now? He looks like a fool. The plush dog has also arrived in front of Kuli, showing a fighting posture. It looked at the irritable monkey with a cold gaze, and the guy in front of it actually wanted to harm the boss who could bring it delicious food. It would never allow it. After eating such delicious elf bread, it can no longer imagine how it would feel if it couldn't eat it in the future. Curry's words were like a bucket of cold water, pouring them on Jim Stewart's head, making it impossible for him to vent his anger. He felt really unlucky today, all the decorations were in vain. What he couldn't bear the most was the mockery in Ali's eyes. He was actually mocked by this garbage-like guy, and this feeling made him want to tear him apart. But Curry in front of him clearly looked like he was going to stand out for Ali. Of course not. He forced out a smile and suppressed his anger deeply. After speaking, he gave Ali a deep glance and turned around, leading the irritable monkey before leaving. He doesn't want to stay here for a moment anymore. Ali looked at Jim's back with a deep gaze. He knew it was impossible for him to reconcile with Jim, and of course, he never thought about reconciling with the other party. If there is a chance to kill this chubby guy, he will never hesitate. Of course, the other party must also think the same way. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Decision to establish a pet beast alliance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Decision to establish a pet beast alliance. After Curry left, Ali closed the store directly. All the elf bread has been sold, so there is no need to open the door. He brought Xiao Bu to the courtyard and felt that his mind was a bit confused now. The current crisis has been resolved, but a bigger crisis is waiting for him. He must carefully plan the path he will take next. The first thing I need to do is to survive here. After a while, Ali slowly sighed. 1,000 years ago, the world was not as secure as the real world. It was a dark and barbaric society with distinct social classes and levels. Threats from wild monsters, natural disasters, and diseases could take fragile lives at any time. Even though he has a pet breeding house system in his hands, he still cannot have enough self-protection power now. Even to some extent, pet breeding houses may become the source of disaster and the coveted target of enemies. Far away, he believes that the Warcraft Chamber of Commerce will definitely have ideas for him. Although Chief Curry looks like a good person, he cannot completely hand over his safety to others. You must have enough strength to do it. His gaze became firm. Now he has the flame fox, a potential pet beast with endless potential, and a pet beast breeding house providing a continuous source of resources. Aren't pet cultivators themselves used to cultivate pet beasts? He can completely use the pet breeding house system as a resource system. Even, he can use the pet breeding house to build his own power. In addition to using a continuous stream of resources to attract powerful knights to join, we can also use resources to cultivate a new generation of trainers. That's right, trainer. The experience of history has long proven that the establishment of the Pet-Beast Alliance is an inevitable trend in history, and it may be able to accelerate this process. Become the founder of the Pet-Beast Alliance. Having made a decision, or rather a goal, Ollie suddenly felt his restless heart calm down. Xiao Bu, come here for a moment. Xiao Bu stood up in confusion and walked over obediently. Looking at the little guy in front of him, Ollie smiled and said, "Little Bu, I plan to cultivate you next. What do you think?" Xiao Bu, just be silly and cultivate. This is a completely unfamiliar word to it. We need to become stronger, said Ollie as he explained his thoughts. Xiao Bu's face gradually became solemn. Thinking of the previous despair and helplessness, my eyes became even more determined. It wants to become stronger, gain stronger strength, and protect Ollie. Just, what should we do? Don't worry, I will help you. Then, we become stronger together. Ollie smiled knowingly. He took Xiao Bu to the open space in the courtyard. You can first use the moves you have mastered now, and I will try to help you develop a training plan. He has a lot of knowledge about pets in his mind, but to make use of this knowledge, he still needs to practice. After all, reality and games are different. Component babbling, Xiao Bu nodded seriously and spat out a flame with his mouth open. The flames continuously condensed in front of Xiao Bu and transformed into a fireball, quietly floating in mid-air. Fireball technique. This idea came to Ali's mind. Ha, 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 the flames were still burning, and with the control of Xiao Bu, they suddenly transformed into a dragon, dancing wildly in the air. Yali realized that this was not fireball magic, but Xiaobu's powerful control over flames. That's right, Xiaobu can control the entire process to help bake bread, and even adjust the temperature freely, which shows how high his fire attribute talent is. Powerful fire attribute talent and control over flames. The more he thought, the more excited he became, and his mind recalled Little Bu's information. When it comes to the flame fox, what impressed me the most was its extremely high physical attack value, as well as its weak stamina and speed. This is a creature that attacks pets. But his little cloth actually possesses super strong flame talent and flame control. Can he let him follow the path of magic? Component babbling, after exerting the power of the flames, Xiao Bu looked up at Ollie nervously. Xiao Bu, you are really strong. Yali's eyes sparkled and he said sincerely, with such strong flame control, not every elf has it. Component babbling, Xiao Bu was taken aback, and suddenly a bright light appeared in his eyes. Since being rescued by its old owner, its greatest wish is to help its owner. At first, it could only spew flames to ignite firewood. It did not give up and continuously exercised its control over the flames, making the duration of spraying flames longer and stronger. One day, it was finally able to maintain its flame until the end of a baking session, and it still remembered the comforting smile on the old owner's face. Now, the smile of the little master is exactly the same as that of the old master. Don't worry, I won't let down your talent. Ollie rubbed the little guy's head and made a decision in his heart. Little Bu's control over flames must be well utilized. I recalled Xiao Bu's information and list of moves in my mind. Xiao Bu had many fire attribute moves to master, but many of them needed to be learned using move scripts. Flame Teeth, Flame Vortex, Smoke Spray, and Flash Flame Impact are all moves that Flame Fox can master through comprehension. Recalling these moves, his target is on the Flame Vortex. Flame Vortex is a binding move that can trap the target in a bound state. Combined with Xiao Bu's strong control over flames, the restraining effect of flame vortices will inevitably become even stronger, and even further development can be carried out. Xiao Bu's speed disadvantage can also be compensated for by the flame vortex. Component babbling, Xiao Bu listened attentively to Ali's training plan, looking forward to it. It wants to train the flame whirlpool move. But what should we do? Flame vortex, that's it. Looking at Xiao Bu's expectant gaze, Ali felt a bit guilty. Book knowledge and practice are never the same thing. He scratched his head and suddenly glanced at the distant bucket, his eyes brightening. He quickly went over and filled a basin of water with an iron pot. He picked up a wooden stick and quickly stirred inside, causing the water inside to spin and turn into a vortex. He pointed to the vortex and said, "This is the vortex. You can feel it well and then try to control the flame to turn into this vortex." Hardware, Xiao Bu has no doubt at all. Staring at the vortex without blinking, observing it. Very serious. Seeing Xiao Bu's serious expression, Ali was moved by Xiao Bu's trust and felt a bit embarrassed. He hoped his idea would be useful. The system assessment also needs to be completed as soon as possible. He remembers that the pet breeding house has serious training services that can be used to help Xiao Bu train. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Pharmacist. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Pharmacist. After leaving the bakery, Curry continued to patrol with a cheerful stuffed dog. I don't know if it's his illusion, but the plush dog is in particularly good spirits today. "Cardi, do you want to take a break?" Curry couldn't help but ask. Cuddy, the plush dog was taken aback, shaking its head, feeling not tired at all. It wants to continue wandering around for 2 more laps. Looking at the still enthusiastic plush dog, Curry was somewhat puzzled. There's something wrong with the plush dog today. I finally arrived at Count Burns' small estate in Taro Town. Count Burns is the highest sheriff of the city of Oru, and as his youngest son, he was also appointed as the sheriff of Rhoda when he reached adulthood. Cuddy, after returning to the estate, the plush dog immediately whimpered and stared straight at the elf bread in Curry's hand. Got it, here you are. Curry exhaled and casually found a place to sit on the estate, handing over the elf bread. With a cheerful cry, the plush dog swallowed the elf bread in one gulp. The instantly beautiful taste bloomed in the mouth, while warm currents flowed throughout the body, sweeping away all the fatigue along the way. When exhausted, this feeling becomes even more pronounced. "Huarong dog, do you want to come and rest for a while?" Curry was basking in the sun, emitting a lazy feeling all over. Click, 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 the plush dog is now in a full state and starts training on its own. Curry looked puzzled and said, "Well, haven't you felt tired yet? Today's plush dog is a bit abnormal." He sat up with a rare expression of seriousness in his eyes, watching the plush dog train. The fact proves that the spirit of a plush dog is not fake. Is it the effect of elf bread? He frowned and pondered, thinking that some spiritual fruits could indeed help Warcraft recover its strength. However, this is just bread. How could it possibly have the effects of those precious potions? Click, 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 in the distance, the plush dog came back panting heavily. Although tired, he has a satisfied expression on his face. Looking at the elf bread handed over by its owner, its face was even more satisfied. Comfortable. The elf bread melts at the entrance, with warm currents flowing throughout the body, and stamina rapidly recovering. A few pieces of elf bread were eaten, and the plush dog felt like it was ready again. As he watched the furry dog enter training again, Curry looked bewildered and his eyes gradually widened. This elf bread really has a healing potion-like effect. Are 5 silver coins expensive? Compared to the prices of those drugs, they are not expensive at all. What kind of baker is that boss? He's clearly a pharmacist. In an instant, he couldn't sit still and greeted the stuffed dog, intending to go to the bakery again. Cuddy, being disturbed during training, the plush dog expressed dissatisfaction. But when it heard that it was going to buy that delicious elf bread, it immediately followed along with all its might. Along the way, the wind and fire arrived at the bakery. Looking at the tightly closed door, Curry blinked in confusion. Did it close in broad daylight? Is this too stubborn? The next morning, Curry arrived at the bakery early in the morning. Since eating elf bread, the plush dog lost interest in other foods. That 10 or so pieces of elf bread lasted until dinner. Thinking of his doubts about elf bread and confidence in the taste of stuffed dogs yesterday, his mouth twitched. The slap on the face came too quickly. The taste is too bad, but a stuffed dog would rather be hungry than eat it. The fact is, the taste of the stuffed dog was instantly elevated several levels by the elf bread, and it refused to even eat the food it usually eats. Retribution. But when he thought about the effect of the elf bread, his eyes were bright. Besides the taste, the effect of this elf bread is comparable to that of a potion. If elf bread could be used instead of potions, the training efficiency of the plush dog would definitely be greatly improved. However, looking at the still closed store door, he suddenly felt a bit desperate. This pharmacist, won't he not open the door? Cutty cutty, the plush dog was also somewhat desperate, with a whimper in its mouth. Gia, at this moment, the store door was opened. This voice, for Curry and the velvet dog, is no less than the heavenly sound. Ollie looked at the situation in front of the door and was stunned for a moment. Harm, boss, you finally opened the door, Curry breathed a sigh of relief. Cutty, the plush dog barked excitedly. What's wrong with you? Ollie asked in confusion. Upon hearing this, Curry looked over with a resentful expression. Harmful, who made the elf bread you made so delicious, boss? The soul of the plush dog has been hooked away. Boss, we're here again to buy elf bread. Taking a deep breath, Curry smiled and spoke with a hint of respect in his tone. After confirming the effectiveness of the Pokémon bread, he has determined that Ollie is a very powerful pharmacist. Then come in quickly, Ollie smiled. This is a repeat customer, it can develop into a stable customer base in the future. After entering the store, he directly brought a bowl of elf bread to the impatient plush dog and let the little one eat it first. That Jim Stewart didn't continue to trouble you, did he? Curry looked at them with a smile, searching for topics to bring them closer together. Ollie smiled and shook his head, the order in our Taro town is so good, he doesn't have much chance. A sheriff is the one who manages order, he is flattering. No one can mess around in Taro town, Curry said with a curled mouth, the Warcraft Chamber of Commerce cannot do it either. Speaking of the Warcraft Chamber of Commerce, Curry's disgust in his eyes was undisguised. From his doting on the plush dog, it can be seen that he truly likes pet animals. Thank you, Officer Curry, for your contribution to Taro Town, Ollie smiled. Curry smiled and said, if you want to be grateful to me, prepare more elf bread for me. He glanced at the impatient plush dog, his face full of sorrow, and the little one's mouth had already been taken. Pokémon bread is something that can be compared to healing potions, and the quantity made every day is definitely very limited. I'm so worried. Don't worry, I'm already ready. Ollie smiled and entered the inner room, intending to take out the elf bread. Of course, he is only doing this for show, making it convenient to retrieve the elf bread from the system warehouse. That's right, the system warehouse is equivalent to storage space, and it can freely store and retrieve its own things. Out of thin air, I took out the elf bread, not to mention the style of the Faye. Cutty, the plush dog suddenly cheered. Curry also breathed a sigh of relief as he roughly counted that there were about 20 pieces of elf bread. When he was paying, his heart still twitched. His monthly payment was only 10 gold coins. Watching Curry leave, Ollie couldn't hide a smile on his face. It seemed like he needed to make more elf bread tomorrow. He believes that with the taste of elf bread, it will definitely attract more customers to come. After all, no pet can refuse the taste of elf bread, just like this plush dog came to smell the smell of elf bread. That other pet beasts will definitely smell it too. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Attacks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Attacks. At night, Ollie and Xiaobu slept in bed. It was almost autumn and the weather was gradually getting colder. Fortunately, he had Xiaobu's stove and didn't feel cold. On the streets of Taro Town, the cold wind was blowing, and the streets were silent, with only a few occasional fallen leaves rolling in the cold wind. Suddenly, a purple figure flashed across the open street, several flashes stopping on a roof, with two pairs of bright eyes staring around. Lotta, a low cry sounded, and the front-toothed mouse looked around with alert eyes. Its nose twitched twice from time to time, and its huge front teeth shone with a cold light. Having identified the direction, the front-toothed mouse moved its limbs again, flying through the eaves and walls, until it landed in a small courtyard, close to the two-story cottage. At this moment in the room, Ollie, who had been tired for a whole day, had already fallen asleep. Little Boo's wide, furry tail draped over Ollie's body, emitting warmth. Hardware, Xiaobu occasionally opens his eyes to check. Either help the little master tidy up the quilt and pull the corners of his clothes, wrap his tail as much as possible around the little master, or stimulate the fire attribute energy in his body to emit more temperature. Be careful and take care of it. Suddenly, Xiaobu's eyes were completely open, his ears twitched, and his figure suddenly stood up with a serious expression on his face. Xiaobu, what's wrong? Ollie was awakened by Xiaobu's sudden movements and asked with sleepy eyes. Component babbling, Xiaobu whispered a few words, but before he could explain, his figure suddenly jumped out, pushed open the door, and rushed out. Xiaobu. Ollie was taken aback and instantly regained consciousness. He quickly got up, didn't care about putting on shoes, and ran out barefoot. Upon arriving at the balcony, he saw a burst of flames soaring into the sky in the courtyard. This was the fire attribute energy that Xiaobu was using to activate his body, with flames enveloping his entire body. On the other side, a front-toothed mouse is crawling on the ground, and two pet beasts are facing each other. Lotta, seeing Ollie come out, the front-toothed mouse's eyes flickered with a cold light, and its figure suddenly disappeared in place, rushing directly towards Ollie. Ollie instinctively leaned down and saw a white light passing by in a wrong direction. Suddenly scared out of a cold sweat, his figure quickly ran down the stairs to meet Little Boo. Lotta, the figure of the front-toothed mouse collided with the wall. Standing up, it shook its head and was about to launch an attack. Component babbling, Xiaobu had already reacted and rushed over with anger. The flames around his mouth condensed and turned into a ball of flames, charging towards the front-toothed mouse. The front-toothed mouse's reaction was also quick, with its limbs vigorously leaping high. The fireball exploded at the position where it had just stood, and the sweeping flames touched its edges, causing the purple hair to curl up slightly. Without hitting the target, Xiaobu once again spewed flames, and the fireball move condensed the flames, transforming into balls of fire and forcing them towards the front-toothed mouse. The roar of the explosion was incessant, and the front-toothed mouse kept dodging in the firelight. This time, Xiaobu activated a real fire, and the fire attribute energy in his body was completely stimulated, turning into terrifying firepower pouring out. But the speed of the front-toothed mouse is indeed very good, with only a few flames rubbing against the edge while avoiding XC. Ollie watched anxiously from the side. Although it seemed that Xiaobu had the upper hand on the scene, it did not actually cause much damage to the front-toothed mouse, but rather consumed his energy in vain. When Xiaobu's physical strength is exhausted and he cannot continue to spew flames, it is time for the front-toothed mouse to counterattack and immediately determine the winner. Xiaobu, unleash the whirlpool of flames. He gritted his teeth and ordered loudly. The speed of the front-toothed mouse is too fast. Only by trapping the front-toothed mouse first can Xiaobu win. Component babbling, Xiaobu was taken aback, and a picture of a vortex flashed through his mind. Its expression became solemn, and the fire energy within its body surged, surging under its control. At this moment, the front-toothed mouse was easily dodging. Even if its body was surrounded by burning flames, it could not harm it at all. It was waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a chance to kill with one blow. It looked at the small cloth across from it, stopped spitting flames, its gaze fixed, and its figure crawled down after landing, with all its limbs trying hard to pounce. But in the next moment, the flames around the front-toothed mouse suddenly swept over and enveloped it. Success! Ali's eyes showed surprise and he quickly ordered, "Little Boo, use the fire bullet move with all your might." Component babbling, Xiaobu reacted and suppressed the excitement in his heart. The fire attribute energy in the fire bag was completely stimulated, and a fireball condensed around his mouth. Dragging his long comet tail, he smashed it towards the front-toothed mouse in the vortex of flames. Boom! At the moment of collision between the fireball and the flame vortex, it exploded and turned into towering flames. The front-toothed mouse, located at the center of the flame explosion, was thrown flying and its body was burnt black by the flames, falling heavily to the ground. Component babbling, upon seeing this, Xiaobu opened his mouth and saw a cluster of flames coalescing. The blazing flames were burning, and the high temperature was burning the air, causing it to distort slightly. Under full force, the temperature of the flame was raised to its limit, attacking the fallen front-toothed mouse and enveloping it all over. Ladawu, the front-toothed mouse rolled twice on the ground, sobbing in pain, but could not extinguish the flames on its body until it burned into a ball of flying ash, drifting away with the wind winning. Ali sat down on the ground with a cold sensation behind him. This battle was too thrilling. If it weren't for his subconscious evasion. If it weren't for Xiaobu's training, his strength would have improved significantly. If it weren't for the last moment, Xiaobu would have been lucky enough to comprehend the flame vortex. As long as they are a little unlucky, the outcome of the battle may be completely different. It's still too weak, Ali sighed in his heart. Hardware, Xiaobu also had a low expression and a sad face. It's still too weak. Even though the little master has already given it so much help, it still cannot become powerful and has put the little master in danger. Ali reacted and felt heartbroken as he looked at Xiaobu's self-blaming expression. He knew he couldn't blame Xiaobu, so he couldn't help but smile softly and say, "Xiaobu, you've done a great job. If it weren't for you discovering the enemy in time and eliminating it, I would really be in danger. Thank you, Xiaobu." Hardware, Xiaobu looked up at Ali's sincere gaze, feeling warm in his heart. It clenches its small fists tightly, and it must train even harder. Yali also had the same idea, with a hint of urgency in his heart. In the dark and barbaric era of Warcraft, there was not enough self-protection ability, and even survival became a problem. He stood up and approached the flying ash, reaching out to pick up the Warcraft ring on the ground with a serious gaze. Having a Warcraft ring indicates that this is a Warcraft with only its owner, and those who have a grudge against it and can own Warcraft may only be the Warcraft chamber. Killing someone with just one word of disagreement is really barbaric. Ali pursed his lips, his face serious. Next, he must work harder to earn money. No matter who the enemy is, he will not allow his fate to be in the hands of others. Ali and Xiaobu's gaze met, and they could both sense each other's determination, with a tacit smile. "Xiaobu, let's work together." Wu-yi. Xiaobu nodded vigorously, feeling a burning fire in his heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Spring Celebration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Spring Celebration. This night was destined to be restless for Ali and Xiaobu. They made a promise to become stronger together. At the same time, they also made a decision. I'm going to participate in next year's spring celebration. The Spring Festival is one of the busiest festivals in the city of Ulu. Ali has read the chronicles of the world of pets. He knew that thousands of years ago, the city of Ulu was a prosperous place where people could live and work in peace. It is precisely because of the prosperity of this city that it often attracts the coveted attention of nearby warcraft and surrounding cities. Especially in autumn, we often encounter warcraft invasions, and it is not until the heavy snowfall in winter that warcraft will return to the forest. Spring, on the other hand, is the season for the revival of all things, and the abundant resources in the forest are actually the most peaceful time of the year. At that time, the city of Ulu will hold a grand celebration to commemorate the past of winter, usher in recovery, and also to commemorate the brave warriors who sacrificed themselves. Spring martial arts performances are the most important part of the celebration, and to commemorate and honor the brave, the Royal Warcraft Arena will hold a grand duel. The final winner in the duel will be awarded the title of Brave. Only with goals can there be motivation. However, they are also under a lot of pressure now. Relying solely on elf bread cannot make Little Boo stronger. Yesterday's battle has already shown everything. If it weren't for the opponent being just a front-toothed mouse, and if it weren't for the unexpected realization of the flame vortex, it would be dangerous. Xiao Bu's physical fitness is too poor, just having a talent for controlling fire is not enough. The spring celebration is a grand event for the entire city of Europa, and there must be many powerful knights participating. Xiao Bu's current strength is not even worse. It seems that we need to complete the system assessment as soon as possible. His gaze was fixed. He remembers that there is a serious training business in the system, which may be used to help Xiao Bu quickly improve his strength. In the backyard, Xiao Bu is undergoing flame vortex training. You can see a group of fire dragons dancing in the air in the distant open space. Yali sat in the distance, contemplating Xiao Bu's next training plan. Look at the flame intensity of Xiao Bu, you should be able to train the flame spraying technique next. Flame spray can be said to be the signature move of fire attribute pet beasts. Before learning this move, pet beasts feel embarrassed to say they are fire attribute. Thinking of this, he immediately brought Xiao Bu to the small courtyard for flame spraying training. The small courtyard, which was originally filled with withered leaves and vines, was completely turned into fly ash under the flames of the small cloth, and even the weeds on the ground were not much. Looking at the scorched ground, Ali thought that when spring came, he might try planting some flowers and plants. After all, the bakery is only temporary. What he really wants to open is a breeding house, and there will definitely be services for pet breeding, storage, and even sales. This small courtyard should be renovated well, which can be used to feed the pets. Component babbling, Xiao Bu looked at the azure sky and took a deep breath. A piece of elf bread to eat. At the next moment, its face suddenly changed, and its red hair fluttered, with faint sparks visible, causing the surrounding temperature to rapidly rise. Xiao Bu, that's it. Squeeze the flame in your mouth with all your strength and then spray it out. Ali pointed to him on the side. He doesn't know how to train the flame spraying technique, but since he has the word spraying, it should be possible to consider it as a water spraying. Just like the water gun game he used to play when he was a child, a long water pipe just needs to hold down the nozzle, and the gentle water flow will become a torrent. The tighter the pressure, the greater the impact of the water flow, and the principle of flame spraying must be similar. Previously, Xiao Bu understood the flame vortex technique by observing the vortices in the water, which gave him great confidence. After thinking for a moment, he went back to the house and brought out a glass of water. After taking a big sip, he held his mouth and sprayed water, only to see a rushing stream spraying out. Xiao Bu, give it a try. Component babbling, Xiao Bu's body was compressed with flames, his cheeks bulging, and flames were constantly condensing inside his mouth. Until it could no longer bear it, the flames in its mouth suddenly turned into a large fireball and spewed out, hitting the opposite rock. Looking at the flames that were clearly stronger than before, Little Boo's eyes were sparkling. Oh, the power of the flames has indeed increased. Ali's eyes lit up. Unfortunately, this is still a fireball move and has not transformed into a more powerful basic flame jet. Xiao Bu, let's continue and reminisce about the water flow. Ollie encouraged with a smile. Oh my God. Xiao Bu nodded heavily and continued to try. Flames spewed out in its mouth, soaring into the sky, reflecting the scorching sun the next morning. Curry still walked very early with his stuffed dog. Since eating the elf bread, the plush dog has lost interest in all other foods, and this morning he was urged by the plush dog to buy elf bread. Ahem, 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 the plush dog walked ahead with a fierce and spirited demeanor. Suddenly, its nose twitched and it smelled the tempting scent of elf bread. In an instant, saliva began to secrete, and the freshly baked aroma of elf bread had a fatal temptation for the olfactory velvet dog. The speed began to accelerate and eventually turned into a fast run. The plush dog quickly arrived at the bakery, wagging its tail and looking forward. Creak, the store door opened in time, and Ollie saw the plush dog at first glance. His face instantly burst into a smile, and no one would not like such a loyal customer. Today's coins have landed. Come in, Ollie called out. Owl, the plush dog nodded naturally and walked into the store. Seeing this scene in the distance, Curry sighed helplessly. He really doubted whether his plush dog would one day resist the temptation of elf bread and run away. Boss, wrap up all your elf bread. Entering the store, Curry leaned against the threshold and lazily spoke. Ollie's eyes flickered and he said, I made 60 pieces of elf bread today. 60 pieces of elf bread. Curry was taken aback and touched his wallet, smiling awkwardly. Give me 20 pieces first. Good Ollie was disappointed in his heart, but it didn't show on his face. If Curry can buy all 60 Sprite bread, he will be able to complete the system assessment. Boss, your price is still a bit expensive. Curry took the elf bread and complained with some heartache. Value for money, isn't it? Ollie smiled. Indeed. Curry nodded earnestly. During this period, he saw the progress of the plush dog. As long as they continue to grow at this pace, they really have a chance to compete for the championship of the spring celebration. Waving his hand at Ollie, Curry walked out of the store with his excited plush dog towards the estate, intending to continue training and prepare for the spring celebration. When Curry left, Ollie didn't close the door and continued to wait for new customers to come. He wanted to complete the assessment today. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Flame Horse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Flame Horse. So, a morning has passed. Except for a few poor people, no one came to his shop at all. It seems it's still not possible, Ollie sighed. Opening a store with only one customer is obviously not sustainable. Although Curry looks quite wealthy, he can't afford to spend a few gold coins every day. He must find a way to attract more customers. Just as Ollie hesitated whether to close the business. Suddenly, a sound of horse hooves could be heard from the distant street, and a young man in leather armor sat on a white horse with fiery manes burning from head to tail and limbs, his gaze flashing. The flame horse was very fast. As he approached the bakery, the boy pulled the reins connected to the Warcraft ring, and the flame horse raised its hooves and stopped steadily. Half a year has passed, finally back. The boy looked at the bakery, his sharp eyes softened, and he jumped off his horse's back. Inside the store, Ollie had already heard the commotion outside and walked out, his gaze fixed on the flame horse. Peter got off his horse and smiled, Ollie, long time no see. Ollie's gaze shifted from the flame horse to the boy. A sudden electric current flashed through his mind, and information about the youth emerged. Pete. He instinctively called out the boy's name. Huh, it's rare that you haven't forgotten me. How could I possibly forget? Ollie had a smile on his face, and a warm feeling came to his heart. 5 years ago, the original owner came to Taro Town. And Pete is the original owner's best friend. After a brief conversation, Ollie welcomed Pete into the room. This shop is no different from when I left, Pete sighed. And Little Boo, as always, loves cleanliness. Hardware, Xiao Bu was cleaning when he saw Pete waving his paws to greet him. "Ha, let me introduce my little fire to you. It and you are both fire attribute Warcraft, we can definitely play together." Peter pointed to the flame horse outside and introduced it, with a hint of pride on his face. His childhood dream was to obtain a Warcraft, but he didn't expect it to come true so soon. Although Xiaohua is still very small and cannot become a powerful Warcraft galloping on the battlefield, he is confident that he can cultivate Xiaohua well. Hardware, Xiao Bu nodded happily and thought for a moment before taking out a piece of elf bread, intending to use it to entertain his new friend. "Hey, is this Uncle's new bread?" Pete noticed the elf bread, licked his lips, and smiled. He hadn't eaten Uncle's bread for a long time, and he really missed it. "By the way, where's Uncle and Auntie?" Upon hearing Pete's inquiry, Xiao Bu, who was originally happy, paused and his face turned sad. Pete suddenly realized something was wrong and furrowed his brow. What happened? Ollie sighed and recounted the disappearance of his parents. "Uncle and Aunt left suddenly. Didn't they tell you where they were going?" Pete pondered. Under normal circumstances, even if there is an urgent matter, they should still say it, unless they feel like they will be back soon. Did something unexpected happen? He glanced at Ollie and Xiao Bu who were in a bad mood and quickly comforted them. "Don't worry, Uncle and Aunt must have something urgent to delay. Now that I am a squad leader in the Flame Knights Order, I will ask someone to help you find your uncle and aunt soon." His expression is very serious. He lost his parents from a young age and grew up with the help of his uncle and aunt. He has long regarded Ollie's parents as his own, and no matter what, he will do his best to find them. "Well, they will definitely be fine," Ollie smiled, with those warm memories floating in his mind. He had already made a decision, and when his strength was strong enough, he would help the original owner find his parents back. This is his promise to the original owner. "By the way, since Uncle and Auntie are not in the store, is the bread you made?" Pete changed the topic with great interest. "Well, that's elf bread, specifically for Warcraft to eat." Pete looked puzzled. Hardware, upon hearing this, Xiao Bu quickly walked up to the flame horse and handed over the bread. Its face was full of confidence, showing off with a hint of silk. "This is the super delicious bread made by his little master." Furfurin, the flame horse let out a low cry and lowered its head to smell it. The fragrance contained in the elf bread wafted into its nose, making its eyes bright. Lowering its head is like taking a bite, the scent of elf bread is released in its mouth, instantly conquering the taste buds of the flame horse. The warm current flowing throughout its body makes it feel like it is about to float up, and the exhaustion of running on the road is instantly swept away. "It seems the taste is really good," Pete said twice. Ollie smiled mysteriously and said, "It's not just that the taste is good." Pete let out a soft sigh and looked carefully at the flame horse. As he watched the flame horse suddenly become energetic, his heart skipped a beat and he said with a trembling voice that he couldn't even detect, "Little fire stamina." "Well, the elf bread is made from spirit fruit and can help Warcraft recover its strength. The effect should be pretty good," Ollie grinned. Upon receiving a positive response, Pete immediately stood up and approached the flame horse to carefully examine, with a hint of disbelief in his eyes. "Ollie, is this elf bread for sale?" Pete looked unusually serious. "Nature is for sale." Pete's eyes lit up instantly and he said, "How do we sell it?" Upon hearing this, Ollie pursed his lips and said with some embarrassment, 5 silver coins. Well, Pete is his friend, maybe it could be cheaper. Indeed. Ah. Okay, then how much do you have now? I'll take it all. Pete cheered up. Upon hearing this, Ollie was completely stunned. "Pete, is this developed? A bread worth 5 silver coins, buy it as you please." To be honest with you, I came back this time to purchase supplies with the deputy leader. Since you have good things here, we naturally need to buy some back. Seeing Ali's confusion, Pete explained with a smile. Material procurement. Ali's eyes lit up. If it were the Flame Knights, it would indeed be easy to eat this product. All you want. I still have 40 pieces of elf bread here. I want everything, I want everything. A bottle of recovery potion costs 5 silver coins, and even palace pharmacists cannot match this price. Not buying it is foolish. Moreover, looking at Xiaohua like this, your elf bread must have been passed down from your uncle. The delicious, affordable, and satisfying elf bread is the best food for the Knights Warcraft, isn't it? Peter was excited and talked endlessly. After finishing, he couldn't sit still and quickly got up to leave. He didn't forget to remind Ali. Keep all the elf bread for me, I'll go find our deputy leader now and ask him to come and pay. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Second Guest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Second Guest. As he watched Pete hurriedly gallop away, Ali let out a breath. I was just worried that these elf breads wouldn't sell, but soon I met a big customer. His luck is beyond words, he is truly the man selected by the system. After the transaction is completed, he can complete the system assessment. Just think about it and look forward to it. Component babbling, Xiaobu didn't know what his little master had in mind. Seeing Ali happy, it's happy. On Pete's side, he quickly found the deputy commander who was bargaining. Deputy commander, come with me quickly. I found something good. He eagerly pulled the deputy commander and wanted to leave. The deputy commander was almost pulled down, and his lower body stabilized with force. He said calmly, what good thing have you found? You're in such a hurry. Recovery potion, 5 silver coins of recovery potion. Oh, no, it's a sprite bread for 5 silver coins. Pete's excited words were incoherent. Here, take a sip of water first. The deputy commander squinted his eyes. Pete took a water bag and took a big sip, took a breath, and then told the story of the elf bread once again. Bread with effects comparable to healing potions. The deputy leader's first reaction was disbelief, was that still bread? Wait a moment, I'm waiting for Master Morin's apprentice. Their recovery potion will be delivered soon, the deputy commander thought for a moment. With the elf bread, what kind of healing potion do we need? Pete muttered softly and could only wait obediently. Later, he suddenly thought of something and asked, Deputy Commander, how many coins did you bring this time? Why are you asking this? The deputy commander looked wary. Well, I asked the boss to keep 40 pieces of elf bread for a total of 2 coins, Pete quickly explained. 40 pieces of elf bread. The deputy commander frowned and felt a bit displeased, feeling that Pete was too presumptuous. 2 gold coins are not a small amount, and he cannot withdraw them at will. Soon, the pharmacist apprentice arrived and looked at the knight in front of him with a cold expression, saying, 50 bottles of recovery potions, priced at 750 silver coins. 15 silver coins per bottle. Shouldn't it be 10 silver coins? The deputy captain frowned. And now it's autumn, with a large amount of ripe spiritual fruits, the price should be able to push down a bit. Why has the price actually increased? There's no way, there's a high demand for recovery drugs this year. Moreover, autumn is here, and many Warcraft will invade their territories. If you don't want it, I'll sell the potion to another family. The pharmacist apprentice's face was cold and stern, completely disrespectful. After all, pharmacists hold a transcendent position in this world. Boss, should we consider elf bread? Pete whispered. Elf bread. The pharmacist apprentice sneered. According to this knight, can elf bread be compared to healing potions? It's really funny, as expected, knights are ignorant. Seeing the disdain in the eyes of the pharmacist apprentice, the deputy captain's face turned a little red and gave Pete a glare. We all need 50 bottles of recovery potions, he said. The pharmacist apprentice nodded, didn't say much, and left directly after taking the money. When the other party left, Pete snorted and was very dissatisfied. "Deputy Commander, are we going to see the elf bread now?" he said. "What are you looking at? We only have 3 gold coins in hand now, and we haven't bought many things yet." The Deputy Commander rolled his eyes. "This bye-bye used an extra 2.5 gold coins, he needs to save some. Boss, you can come with me to take a look. I've already agreed with the boss, so please give face." Pete clasped his hands together and pleaded. Okay. The Deputy Commander sighed and teased how to spend the remaining 3 coins. Entering the store, Pete immediately signaled Ollie to take out the elf bread. Ollie nodded with a smile and took out the elf bread. The deputy leader walked in, glanced around the store, and nodded lightly. "The hygiene in this store is quite good." His gaze fell on the plain elf bread again, frowning. "From the appearance, there is no special feature of this elf bread." As he walked over, he reached out and picked up a piece of elf bread. He placed it in front of his nose and smelled it. After smelling the faint aroma of spiritual fruits, he squinted his eyes. Bread containing spiritual fruits. He did hear that someone had tried. Just too many impurities, the effect is not as good as eating spiritual fruits directly. You can give yourself a try with Warcraft first. Ollie saw the Deputy Commander's disapproval and smiled. The Deputy Commander nodded, thinking that if the effect was not good, he would definitely not pay. Furfuran, Xiaohua immediately swallowed his saliva when he saw the elf bread. Upon seeing this, the flame horse glanced lightly at Little Fire, feeling that it was too young. Then, with a calm expression, he took a bite of the elf bread. Suddenly, its calm eyes widened and its indifferent expression crumbled. It couldn't wait to take a second bite, looking impatient. "Flame Horse, are you okay?" The Deputy Commander was startled. Its Flame Horse was as elegant as him. When did it lose its composure? Furfuran, the Flame Horse did not answer, closing its eyes and enjoying itself. The Little Fire next to him couldn't help but chuckle twice at this, pretending to be different. Fur. The old face of Flame Horse blushed slightly, dodging his head, but his eyes stared at the elf bread in the shop without blinking, expressing that "I still want to eat." Pete also brought a piece of elf bread for his Flame Horse. Seeing the Flame Horse's appearance, he thought for a moment and handed it over. Birds never bird his fiery horse. This time, with a response, he bit into the elf bread and once again looked intoxicated. "This elf bread, isn't its effect really comparable to a healing potion?" The Deputy Commander's expression became somewhat unnatural as he thought of his previous disbelief. "Old buddy, how does the effect of this elf bread compare to the healing potion?" He spoke with a hint of guilt. Furfuran, upon hearing this, the Flame Horse moved its body and suddenly froze. "This elf bread can actually relieve fatigue. Even, it feels more effective than a restorative potion." Suddenly, its eyes lit up and it stared straight at the elf bread, feeling like it had fallen. The Flame Horse didn't say anything, but it seemed to have said everything. The Deputy Commander persisted and asked again. This time, Flame Horse gave a very serious positive response. The speculation was confirmed, and the Deputy Commander suddenly froze, then forcefully reached out to cover his chest with a painful expression. Pete was startled and quickly went to help, only to hear the Deputy Commander muttering incessantly. 15 silver coins, 15 silver coins. Recovery potion, Gelatzis." The Deputy Commander suddenly cursed loudly and looked excited. "This elf bread only costs 5 silver coins, and the healing potion actually costs 15 silver coins, which is an extra 10 silver coins." What made him even more painful was that he foolishly bought 50 bottles. He deeply regrets it now. How much money would he have saved if he had listened to Pete at that time? The Deputy Commander, who has always been stingy, is trapped in infinite internal responsibility. Fortunately, he discovered it not too late. The deputy commander suddenly regained his spirit and shook Ali's hand with excitement on his face. "Boss Ali, please wrap all the elf bread up. I'll take it." End of this chapter.